Good evening. Thanks for spending your evening with us. I would like to call this meeting back to order on September the 9th, 2024 at 7:05. We have a few business items to take care of, and we will get started. So the first one is to certify our closed meeting. Would someone like to read that certification statement?
I can read it. Whereas the Madison County School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas since Section 2.2 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law, therefore be it resolved that the Madison County School Board hereby certifies to the best of each member's knowledge, one, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting, to which the certification applies, and two, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered.
All right, we have a motion. We need a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Patterson, will you call roll, please?
Mr. Martz,
I certify.
Mr. Sheets,
I certify.
Mr. Wingate,
I certify.
Mrs. Wood,
I certify.
Mrs. Collier.
I certify. All right, our next agenda item is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. And we will have a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, our next action item is to approve the personnel matters and the addendum for September the 9th to include the appointments, the resignations, the substitute reappointments, the substitute appointments, the sponsor stipends, the coach, and the coaching stipends as presented. I'll open the floor for a motion.
Motion to approve as presented.
We have a motion. We need a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. The next agenda item is to approve the release from compulsory attendance for religious exemption for student number 8. And we'll open the floor for that motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries. The next approval we need is for the September 2024 consent agenda, and that includes those items that you see on your screen: school board meeting minutes, operating expenses, food services expenses, CIP, supplemental appropriation, and the expenditure report. I'll open the floor for that motion.
Motion to approve the September 2024 consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion. We need a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries. All right, now we get to the fun stuff. Yay. So we are in recognitions and presentations, and our Employee of the Month presented by?
The Employee of the Month this month, it comes from Wetzel Middle School. So Principal Wilson is going to make that presentation.
could I please have Mr. Junior Chapel come up and join me? I'll let you just stand here as I talk about you a minute, okay? So good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my absolute honor to stand before you today and recognize the outstanding contributions of our Employee of the Month, Richard Chapel Jr. Junior's unwavering dedication, tireless work ethic, and meticulous attention to detail have truly set him apart. His continuous efforts to enhance our school's environment and his precise organization of spaces have not gone unnoticed. Junior joined the Wetzel Middle School family this past spring, and from day one hit the ground running. He's upbeat, proactive, punctual, and always present. His work is organized. He has spent a lot of time organizing and updating areas within the school and has had a significant impact on our school environment. What truly distinguishes Junior is his exceptional professionalism and innate ability to uplift and bring joy to those around him. His outstanding teamwork and indispensable role as a member of our custodial staff at Wetzel Middle School has substantially impacted our school. Without hesitation, Junior will stop whatever he's doing to assist others in need. He's a handyman when a handyman is needed most. Junior's selfless dedication to giving back to our school and his eagerness to assist wherever needed exemplifies his invaluable role within our team. His proactive approach and exceptional problem-solving skills make him an indispensable asset to our school. Please join me in extending our heartfelt congratulations to Mr. Richard Chapel, Jr. Thank you for being an inspiration to us all. We're going to turn around and take a quick picture.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Okey doke. Our next celebration is the Senior of the Month.
Yes, we're going to do the August and September
Oh,
Senior
nice.
Month. So Ms. Taylor is coming up and getting ready to gather her seniors. We're going to remind everyone, since it's the first one of the year, that our Senior of the Month program showcases a graduating senior one each month and recognizes them for their academics, their extracurricular activities, and their service to others. And then each senior will be invited back to a banquet at the end of the year. Well, they will have the opportunity to be honored again, and we're going to give them a little gift and plaque at that event. And then they will bring a teacher that has had an impact on their K-12 education, whatever grade level they want to go back to, or an employee in the schools, and they're going to honor them that evening, and we will give them a plaque and a token of our appreciation for that as well. So it's a fun thing.
Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to be able to introduce Parker Campbell, if you come to the front with me, please. He is our August Student of the Month. Come on up, Parker. Parker Campbell was chosen as MCHS August Student of the Month due to his exceptional work with our technology department. He was selected as the first technology intern last year, and because of this strong work and IT knowledge, he was asked to continue through the summer and during his senior year. When asked by many teachers to participate and give a word about him, there were so many that wanted to say something because he is that special for us. Mrs. Paramore stated, Parker is a quick learner and has been willing to work on any task that technology throws his way. He is polite and has a great work ethic both with technology and in the classroom. He is always professional in his interactions. Over the past 4 years, I have seen nothing but respect, both towards his teachers and his peers. Not only has Parker been successful in his role with technology, but he is also a mature, responsible, and respectful student. Mrs. Mitchell has had him as a student last year and again this year and says Parker has played a vital role in providing technology support throughout the entire Madison County school system. His willingness to assist others, coupled with his technology skills, has made him an invaluable resource within our school community. Whether it is troubleshooting a problem or guiding classmates, he approaches every task with a sense of openness and enthusiasm that is truly commendable. His empathetic nature and ability to connect with others has made him a respectful and trusted member of our school community. Other teachers were also quick to use the word respectful as one of Parker's top qualities, which is fitting as respect, as you know, is the theme for the year at MCHS. He is an exceptional young man who has certainly made a positive impact on our school and the school community as a whole. May I present again Parker Campbell. Congratulations. So you're going to get 2 little things because I didn't know they were doing this. So there you go. You're welcome. Turn around. Next up is our September Senior of the Month. Jade McCarley, would you please come up and join me? Jade McCarley has been selected as the September Senior of the Month due to her exceptional contributions to the school community as a whole. As the SCA President and VSCA Representative, Jade tirelessly dedicates her summer to meticulously planning for homecoming and other SCA activities. Her unwavering commitment and courageous school spirit has left a lasting impact, making her a respected and admired figure in the school community. Honoring Jade for her remarkable leadership and invaluable contributions is an absolute privilege by all at the high school. In addition to her roles as SCA President and VSCA Representative, Jade also serves as a senior class representative. Her outstanding organizational and coordination skills were evident in the planning and execution of various senior class events and graduation activities. Jade's ability to bring people together and create a sense of unity within the senior class has been truly commendable. Her innovative ideas and tireless work ethic have made a significant impact on the senior class, enriching their final year of high school and making us all feel very proud. Aside from all of her endeavors, Jade has an inept ability to make everyone at MCHS feel welcome and included. All of this stems from her desire to have others feel seen and have a positive high school experience. It is abundantly clear that Jade's impact extends far beyond her immediate circle, and she truly deserves this recognition for her outstanding efforts in representing the student body and enhancing the school community as a whole. I present to you Jade McCarley, our September Senior of the Month. So you're going to get 2 things. This one I made because I didn't know they made them. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I just want to add congratulations to the parents and the family. It's so nice that y'all are here, and they're such a credit to you all, and it's good work. You know, where we talked a lot about character education and stuff and citizenship, and you all are epitomize that so well in the family, so thank you for being a good example.
Awesome. Our next presentation is the Senior Student Board Representative? Yes?
Yes. She's unable to make it tonight, but we're going to go ahead and tell you about her.
Is representing us tonight at a volleyball game in Strasburg. But she sends her, she's so sorry she couldn't make it tonight, but please let them know that I am beyond excited to have this opportunity and will be looking forward to the next meeting. And do you want me to describe her or wait till she's here?
I'd like to know what her name is.
Can we know what her name is?
Riley Gordon. She is a member of FCA, Beta Club as vice president, class officers, Principals Cabinet, and BRVGS, as well as our SLC, which is our Student Leadership Council, inside of the Blue Ridge Governor's School. Outside of school, she is a member of the Volunteer Fire Company and holds a part-time job at Graves Market. She's a volleyball player here in Madison and also plays travel ball throughout the winter. For fun, she likes to paint, write, read, bake, hang out with friends, hike, spend time with her family, participate in her church's youth group, and when it's warmer, participate in kayaking and paddleboarding. And this is Riley Gordon. She will be at the next meeting.
Nice, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okey-doke. Our next item on the agenda is public comment. We welcome public comment. We ask that you come to the podium, state your name and what part of the county you're from, and you will have 3 minutes. There is a timer on the board if you'd like to address the board.
Hi, my name is Mike Sharman. I'm from the Noam area of Madison. And I just want to encourage you all to continue doing what you have been doing, which is looking to God, asking Him what He would have you do, and then doing it. So I just listed out 3 kind of extended quotes from our founders who regretted not doing what they knew God wanted them to do. Now, I was reading these, and it spoke to me, to warn me to continue, even when I'm weary, even when the culture is telling me to do something else, to just keep doing what God would have me to do. And that's what y'all have been doing. I want to encourage you in that. So Patrick Henry had he had gotten a book from a person, it was a book on abolishing slavery, of what the Quakers were doing. And in this, he said, "Would anyone believe that I am master of slaves by my own purchase? I am drawn along by the general inconvenience of living without them. I will not, I cannot justify it, however culpable my conduct. I believe a time will come when an opportunity will be afforded to abolish this lamentable evil." And he had written it for extended part, and he said, "I know not where to stop. I could say many things on this subject, a serious review of which gives a gloomy perspective in future times." And in what y'all do and in what I do, we need to look at what's going to be the impact on our great-great-grandchildren, not just the immediate impact. George Mason, also a slave owner, said slavery is that slow poison which is daily contaminating the minds and morals of our people. Every gentleman here, he was talking to those that were discussing the Virginia charters, every gentleman here is born a petty tyrant. Practiced in acts of despotism and cruelty, we become callous to the dictates of humanity and all the finer feelings of the soul. So as we make our decisions, each one of us as citizens in our life, you all as elected officials, what's going to be the impact? What is true kindness? We know that true kindness is doing what God would have us to do, not just which is culturally expedient. And then Thomas Jefferson, the famous one, written in marble at the Jefferson Memorial, "Can the liberties of a nation be thought secure when we have removed their only firm basis, a conviction in the minds of the people that these liberties are a gift of God?" And he closed that letter that he was writing, "The spirit of the master is abating, that of the slave rising from the dust, his condition mollifying, the way I hope preparing under the auspices of heaven for a total emancipation." So again, I just encourage you, take the long view, take the heavenly view, and keep doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to address the board? Okey-doke. Board members, do you guys have any comments? And gals, sorry. Anybody have any comments? No?
You know, I'm just going to say, like, I take notes when people write or say things sometimes, and I think the best thing that came out of that too is what is the impact to our great-great-grandchildren, not just our children, because I think that's a good reminder of why we sit up here. So I just wanted to say thank you for those words today.
Thank you. Okey doke. Our next item. As soon as my computer catches up. Staff reports, 2025 MCHS graduation rate. Graduation date, sorry. I didn't mean to say rate. I said, I read date and said rate.
The rate will be great as well there.
That's right. The rate will be great.
So, the graduation date for this year's seniors will be Saturday, May 17th, 2025. Can't believe we're already there. We are still looking for someone, however, to do like the sound and the recording of that, because the person we usually use is not available on that date. They're only available the next Saturday, which is the Memorial Weekend. So.
Okay. Will you keep us posted on that?
It's not going to change, though, is it, right, like the dates?
No, the date, they're getting ready to order everything.
Okay.
It sticks.
Send the, save the dates.
Okey doke, thanks for that information. The next agenda item, I think we are inviting Mr. Corner up to chat with us about the Madison Primary School Improvement Plan.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Congratulations.
Well, I appreciate you having me here tonight to share some things about our plan. We can go ahead and probably go yes to that slide. Thank you. First of all, I just wanted to share with you that the structure of the plan is a little bit different this year. You may recall that last year we had 7 components to the plan. The Department of Education has put a new format into place. So we have the 4 areas of support that you see here: academic supports, staffing supports, professional learning supports, and school climate supports. So we have worked to sort of consolidate our plan into these 4 categories, and then we'll continue to build on that moving forward. Go ahead to the next slide, please. So I want to give you just an idea of what the structure of the plan looks like. So of the 4 domain areas, each has a SMART goal statement. So this is academic supports, and in this particular case, it's English. And our SMART goal statement for this year is that by May 2025, Madison Primary School will demonstrate appropriate academic success in English, defined as 85% of students scoring in the low-risk band of VALS assessment. And furthermore, students with disabilities will demonstrate extended growth in reading as compared to their performance in 23-24. And then we have an evidence-based strategy, which in this case is developing the foundational skills to support phonological awareness, phonemic awareness, and phonics. And then the tier of evidence is strong, and this goes back to our comprehensive needs assessment. So the tier of evidence is coming directly from that and what that needs assessment suggests that we need to work on. And then a description, which is providing instruction in foundational reading skills, including phonological awareness, phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary, and comprehension. And of course, at the primary level, we're going to be heavy on those first 3. And then using HQIM, which you will see a lot of this year, is high-quality instructional materials. In our case, it is the open court curriculum. And also, each area comes with the identification of 2 student measures and 2 staff measures. So the way that we're measuring progress toward that stated SMART goal is the first student measure that 85% of our students will demonstrate proficiency in reading by scoring in the low risk band of vowels at the end of the year. And also that 100% of students with disabilities will demonstrate growth in reading as measured by their performance on the winter and spring vowels assessment in relation to their fall baseline vowel score. So that ensuring that students with disabilities are progressing throughout the year. The staff measure for this goal is that after receiving professional development in the open court curriculum, teachers will implement the curriculum with fidelity as measured through formal and informal observations 100% of the time. So every time I go into a classroom or our assistant principal goes into a classroom, we are taking data on the implementation of that curriculum, as well as taking data in the staff measure number 2 and the alignment of their instruction and assessments with the academic and cognitive expectations defined in the standards of learning. Meaning that not only the appropriate content is being taught, but that it's on a cognitive level that meets the expectations of the standards. So, for example, if the standard is asking students to analyze something, we're going to make sure that that is what they're doing and not identifying. Next slide, please. And then that is followed by action steps, and this is just an example of a few action steps. The first one being that teachers will develop and implement lesson plans that are aligned. Teachers will develop and implement assessments that are aligned, and teachers will implement the HQIM open court reading curriculum with fidelity throughout the year. Again, this is just a sampling. Other things that we're going to find in action steps are part of our tiered process, the Tier 2 supports that we give students, the Tier 3 supports that we give students on the academic side would be included as well, but these are just a few examples. You may recall that I did share some data with you last year, so I added to that this year just to give you a picture of what our growth looks like at the primary school. And I'm going to be the first one to tell you that we had hoped for a little more this past year. The PALS benchmark has turned into vowels, by the way. I mentioned vowels at the outset. And you notice that 81.2%, that's a number we have been familiar with for quite some time. As the pandemic hit, you see that big drop there, but then a steady climb back. And our hope was that we would follow that same pattern this past year. And while we did increase, we only increased by 1 percentage point. If we had increased by the 6 or 7 points, which we had hoped, we would be back to that 81. I'm sad to say that we're not quite. We are right at about 76% success rate.
Can I ask a question? Is that those scores an average of K through 2 all grades, or
All
just
grades,
all
correct.
those 3 grades? Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Math, you can see there that we do have some concerns with math. We're sort of stuck at 71, 72% right now. Our history suggests a performance level right near reading. We didn't take as big a drop through the pandemic, but we also have struggled to regain that growth that we're looking for. And I think that there are a number of reasons for that. It's certainly worthy of further discussion with our instructional leadership team. But some things that have happened over the course of that time is that the SOLs have changed. Our curriculum did not, so we're struggling a little bit to align that curriculum. To be honest, there is little left of our current curriculum that really falls in alignment, so there's a lot of supplement this year and last year as well. So I do think that is a piece of it. Our math intervention at the Tier 3 level has been a little bit spotty. We've lost some positions. Right now, we have our instructional coach who is offering the Tier 3 math intervention and still being an instructional coach. So that's sort of impacting us on both sides of that really a little bit. I'll speak to that instructional coaching piece again too. But the kindergarten PALS and the kindergarten math, we continue to look very strong. I include these because these are the two areas that we have a statewide comparison on. And we compare very favorably with state averages. As you look across the board over the past 3 years, we are continuing to outperform the state average by a couple of percentage points in math and anywhere from 7 to 10 points in math, in reading 2 percentage points, and in math from 7 to 10 percentage points. So we are showing great success there. So we feel like as we move into this year and as our instructional leadership team begins to meet, obviously reading is always going to be a focus, particularly this year with the Virginia Literacy Act, but we really need to look at math and what we can do differently with math. Next slide, please.
Can I ask one more question on that slide?
Sure.
Do you know the state average for those two top charts? I mean,
I don't. The state provides us with the state average for VKRP and for kindergarten and preschool PALS, VALS. But I don't have the school-wide PALS data, and MAP is not a statewide assessment tool. Now, I will say this, that moving forward, the state is going to require VKRP. They'll have to change the name because that's Virginia Kindergarten Readiness Program, but they are going to be giving a K-3 math assessment that's going to be statewide, so it'll sort of mirror VALS. So we'll be able to see a lot better at that time, sort of how we compare with the state.
and you said that for this coming year that you have a goal of 85% for for reading. Is that a state number? I mean, where did that number come from? Is that a state, sort of benchmark? Or?
Typically, schools across the state and I imagine across the country sort of mark 80% as a success rate that they strive for. I've always chosen 85 because I think it's attainable, and we should always look a little farther than where we want to go. But no, that's not a dictated number. We look at our tiered program, and our expectation is 85% success at the Tier 1 level, 12% at Tier 2, and 3% at Tier 3. And that's pretty standard. If you look at tiered models across the country, it's pretty standard.
So there's no state standard for this level?
No, there's not. But that 85 would certainly exceed the expectations of percentages of passing SOL tests.
Thank you.
Mr. Corner, if we look back at 2019 on the first graph there. As soon as I get back to it. 81.2%. What is being done differently now than was being done then?
I do not know that we are doing things much differently. We've certainly looked at different intervention programs, the support that we're providing for students. I think that we have tried to increase. But I think the process has not changed a lot. The curriculum obviously has changed, so that's one big thing. But the process has not really changed.
The curriculum, when did it go in place?
I believe it was 2023, is that, I believe, 2 years ago.
How about class sizes? Were they less students per teachers then?
Yes, sir.
And something I was struck by the other day about technology. Do all K through 2 students, they all have laptop, Chromebooks, something?
We do have one available for each child.
Is that new? Is that kind of new thing? I mean, since the pandemic, is that an,
New since the pandemic, yes. I think the pandemic is what drove it, and of course, there was grant money available.
are they using it in kindergarten, first grade? to
They,
read?
they do use it, but it's less of an instructional tool than I'm sure it is in the high school or middle school. Typically, in our language arts classes, we want to create a situation where students, teachers are able to work with students in small groups, right? And part of that is teaching students to be successful working independently. So one of those tools is using their Chromebooks and using education apps with good direction, or completing classwork associated with those small group meetings.
I guess I'm kind of, that is one of the, that's a difference probably. I don't know, we were talking the other day about reading this book called The Anxious Generation and about cell phones, but also about the screen time and wondering if, I mean, is it good for them, you think, the kindergartners and first graders to be on screens? I mean, I'm skeptical of it.
I'm going to share your skepticism a little bit. I don't know that I'm the qualified person to really make a statement on that, but I will say that I think limiting screen time is probably healthy for kids and adults.
Decision at your level, and could the board help with that at all? Is it a decision at your level to limit that? I mean, I wonder if it's something that we ought to be thinking about, limiting.
I think at the primary level, we're probably in a better spot than most people, because while kids I know are very technology savvy, even in the primary school, they are much more closely directed at the primary level, I think, than older kids are. So there's not really an argument with children to, they know the process. The time that they're spending on those is maybe 20 minutes. But it's different than telling a middle schooler, right, to, put your technology away, right? So that's a completely different fight. So we don't really struggle with it. Next slide. So I'm not going to go through the action steps for the other domains, but I did want to share our SMART goals for the other domains. Our staffing support SMART goal is that by May 2025, 100% of first and second year teachers will be provided with appropriate support as determined in the division level mentorship plan, and that furthermore, all first year teachers will be provided support throughout the year by an assigned building level mentor, and these supports will be documented as part of their division protocol document. Professional learning supports by May 2025, 100% of the Madison Primary School faculty will have received training on evidence-based instructional strategies associated with the science of reading. Furthermore, 100% of teachers will have completed a minimum of one coaching cycle associated with the science of reading. So the coaching cycle, this is kind of what I was speaking of earlier. It has been our practice in the past for teachers to complete 2 coaching cycles a year, but with our instructional coach splitting time between math intervention and coaching, so he's just robbing Peter to pay Paul a little bit. So kind of spreading it out. A coaching cycle means that a teacher is meeting with the instructional coach to determine what their instructional goal for the year would be. The instructional coach will assist in providing materials, will model instruction for that teacher, will then observe the teacher implementing a plan, and then closing out with a reflection meeting. So each of our teachers will have one of those cycles with the instructional coach this year.
I have a question.
Yes.
On the building level mentors, how do we support the mentors that are mentoring folks? I know that's a lot of work, and I want to make sure that they don't have to do that during their planning time? Or what does it look like in practice?
Well, I think that it probably does mean sometimes during planning time that they're providing that support. That's it's a logical and available time. We would try to pair, for example, we have a new second grade teacher. We want that mentor to also be a second grade teacher. So
Okay.
that plan time becomes a common time where they are able to collaborate. You would even call it planning, I would think, right? But they also receive a stipend, so there is some
Okay, good.
compensation associated with it as well. And then there's also division-level support. Kim Adams directs the mentorship program at the division level, so she is supporting all of those mentors and mentees throughout the year as well.
Great, thank you.
Are the mentors, like, are they using the data from the like tests and everything like that to like support where different teachers need that extra support to? Like, I mean, I know they're all first and second year teachers, so they're all kind of new at this, but like, are they also using the data that comes from like the PALS test or the VALS, whatever it's called now? Like those tests to help guide some of that mentorship as well?
I would say yes to a degree. I would say that they use that data to help them understand the data, what the data is telling them, and how they can implement things in association with that data. However, as administrators, we meet with teachers on a weekly basis. We have Tier 1 meetings, actually Tier 1/2 meeting, and then a Tier 3 meeting and behavioral meetings where we look at all of this data and talk about areas of weakness as a grade level. If I have a particular teacher who's struggling in an area, that's not the venue to do that, right? But
And that's what I was thinking, like on that
Right.
mentorship, like if somebody's struggling with this one thing, even if they're great at like making
Right.
sure that
so
mentorship is
it
designed
depends
around
on
that.
what they're struggling with. If they're struggling with reading the data and coming up with appropriate interventions in response to that data, then that's reasonable for the teacher to be working with them. Looking at data as a whole grade level and from weak to strong areas is what we would use those meetings for. If it's a matter of a standout, I would meet with that teacher individually and talk with them. Okay, next slide. And the last domain is school climate supports. By May 2025, Madison Primary School will demonstrate a chronic absenteeism rate not to exceed 5% of the student population. Furthermore, Madison Primary School will provide tiered models of support, student support, and ensure opportunities for parent and community engagement. So this, right now at least, there are more action steps associated with this particular domain. I'm sure we all have in our minds the struggles that not just Madison has had, but statewide, and I would say nationwide with attendance over the past couple of years. So this is pretty heavy on attendance when you look at the action steps, but it also includes things like our bucket filling program, like the implementation of Positivity Project that's coming this year as we move towards that with our character education. Monthly family engagement nights, and so forth. But it is certainly heavy on attendance. And if we can look at the next slide, I do have some attendance data to share with you, which is very positive, and we're very, very proud of the progress we've made here. Again, looking back pre-pandemic, we're looking at between 5 and 6% chronic absenteeism rate. Which was outstanding. You see that red line marks 12%, which is what the level 1 expectation of the state is, at 12% or less. And, you know, we're more than half of that in 19 and just slightly over half of that in 20. And then we saw that spike in 21. And then in 22, wow, a bad trend. I want to give all kudos to our assistant principal, Sharon Johnson, on this because she worked tirelessly on getting this number back down, and I expect it to go down more. We did put some incentive programs into place. I think we do have a pretty solid overall school environment. I do think kids enjoy coming to school. But when it comes right down to it, where the rubber hits the road, it's making that parental contact. It's writing up those plans. It's visiting houses, the homes of people who prefer not to be visited, right? So it's a hard task. It's not a pleasant task, but it's necessary. So I just want to make sure that that Ms. Johnson gets her due on this because she really went after it, and it shows. Dropping from 25.2% to 9.6%, it is incredible. And our goal again this year is to drop that further down to 5%, which I think we can do.
I don't think we so much had a chronic absenteeism problem other than the government built a habit into families that if your child had the slightest ill feeling, a runny nose, don't come to school.
Well, I think a lot of things went into that. I think that's certainly a piece of it. Having time away from school without common expectations certainly was part of it too. And I'm sure there are really a lot of things that sort of go into it. But I think you're right. I don't think it's necessarily the student just not wanting to come to school. I don't think that that's the case. There's always some of that, but I don't think that was the driving force behind it.
I think we're getting better because we're coming off of the plandemic, scamdemic, whatever you want to call it, and we're getting back to normal. I mean, even if we look back at the graph where we got our percentage scores on reading and math, the same entity, the government, that requires us to meet a certain level, shut us down and put us back at, what was it, 48%?
For reading, yes.
48% for reading. That just needs to be brought up and mentioned over and over again.
Next slide. This is the last slide, and this just shows the cyclical nature of this process. Right now, we're sort of back to the planning stage between planning and implementing, continuing to monitor the action steps that we had in place already. But I mentioned earlier that we need to take a closer look at math. And this is all done through our instructional leadership team, which is a representative group. We have teachers from every grade level, teachers from every department within this group, including our reading specialists and our instructional coach. So we will be adding action steps as we move forward. And one big thing for math towards the end of the year is that we hope to adopt a HQIM for math, a high-quality instructional materials for math. The state is coming out with their list of approved high-quality instructional materials, so we're hoping to look towards that for better alignment. So we will have some action steps in there just about that review process and the adoption of a new curriculum. But also looking at some of the things that we've looked at before, we might just need to look more closely. I think that our math tier 2 that we are currently expecting teachers to implement, and they do, but as you might imagine, it's difficult to implement a tier 2 intervention in your classroom and still ensure that all the students in the group are receiving what they need. So we'll be looking at strategies to hopefully support teachers a little bit better in that area and bolster our tier 2 intervention a little bit. And that's what I have for you tonight.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions?
I had two quick things, one comment, one question. Comment, thank you for your hard work on the chronic absenteeism, and I do get lots of comments from people about what a positive culture that you and your team have built. And, I hear that a lot, and all your teachers and everything. So I commend you for. That's obviously a big part of that, is that people wanting, being a place to go when they want to go. So commend you for that. Thank you for your leadership in that way, and thank you for all your school for doing that. On the SOL scores and just improving those, anything from the division or from the board level, policy, practice, resources that you would need that you identified to help in that way?
Well, let me say, I think we've been well supported, I think, by the board and from our central administration. I can tell you one thing that we struggle with, which is more of my suspicion that not a good tool exists, but we find ourselves in a situation of needing to bolster our science scores. Our science scores. Now, those scores come from the 5th grade science test. However, there is not a real assessment tool for science at the primary level. So we do have a tool from the state where we can look at teacher practice a little bit more and student experience a little bit more, but we're struggling to find something that can give us any comparison data to suggest that we're moving in the right direction, and it's all the way to 5th grade before they take that state assessment. So that's.
I wonder if there's a VSBA or some other state would have something, an assessment tool. I don't know. That might be helpful. Let's say practice somewhere.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. I think we're moving right into the middle school.
Again. Okay, we're ready for the first slide, please. Okay, so what I have put up here for you all is a more condensed version of where we are currently with scores. So this is a comparison from the previous school year to last school year. We have made, honestly, many gains in the majority of our areas, minus science here. So you can see I've put some percentages in here, and you can see that the previous school year from English, for all students in English, we went from what was a level 2, that near standard, to green, to 72.26%. Our gap groups, we have been working very hard because we've been at a level 3 for 2 years, and we have come up to a level 2, which is near standard for the gap groups. And I'm going to speak to the gap groups for English and math in saying, you'll see that also below. Gap groups, they're made up of different groups of students. And so one of those main areas in particular where we're falling short still in English, and now the math area of concern is our students with disabilities. And so we have identified that through this newer data that has come out too, and we've created a plan of action around that. So our special education teachers are actually getting ready to do a new professional development in October on some co-teaching practices and ways to deliver specially designed instruction a little more effectively within those co-teaching classrooms, and also diving a little deeper into the 6 different co-teaching strategy models, or models that are out there. So we hope to kind of nail down a little bit more, some better practices for those kiddos. Mathematics, you can see that we went from 67.87% to 70% there. Science, minimal, like 1 percentage point in growth. I will speak to again, we thought we were on a good track with science a little bit with just staffing in general last year, and then we ended up with only 3 science teachers again as the school year went on. And so we did have 1 6th grade, 1 7th grade, and 1 8th grade science teacher, and that is very difficult for them to carry that load. The 8th grade science assessment is also, SOL is an accumulation of 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade science standards. So it is an enormous test, and it does cover a lot of material. The state continues to tell us that the more hands-on learning that we can do with kids, the more experiments that can be run, the better for science. And so for digging in, and so we have every intention of just diving into that this year some more. Our chronic absenteeism, you can see significantly also increased, and we went from 21% to 13%, which was excellent. So we have a lot more greens up there, so we have made it. And in speaking to those English and math achievement gap areas, when you look at the different demographics within that, every single demographic grew from the previous year to this year. So we have made growth. In some areas, we have not made the growth that we need to make, and so we are still working hard on that. Okay, next slide. So you'll see we have some goals here. I believe I've got 5 up here to show you all this evening. The first one is for reading. It's a mastery of reading. So we do hope to increase this upcoming school year to a 75% pass rate with all students included in that. The work that we've done over the last several years, which is proving to be effective, is to continue to have that proper alignment in our SOLs. With our pacing guides, the continuation of the Marzano's 9 high-yield strategies that we've done deep work within. Any new teachers that have joined us, we are engaging them in that process too, that they've missed out on potentially from the last several years where we've done work. Again, the writing across the curriculum, utilization of the writable offered through HMH, that's our reading curriculum, continued coaching support. That coaching support is going to look a little different in English specifically this year because I did change our instructional coach position to a reading specialist position. And I think it was necessary. We could see that the way our trends had been falling, that we were in need of that. And so we're also thankful for that support. That's a new addition this year that we hope to see some positive outcomes from. We continue to have our win time, which meets for 45 minutes daily. And so this is a tiered system. Our reading specialist is also going to work throughout the school day as well as during that win time with different students. Next slide. Mathematics, so we do hope to, this is again our all group, raised from 70% up to 73. That is what's considered that R10 that the state says is what type of growth we should be looking for from year to year. And I will say that one of the things that was added in by the governor was that grade level tutoring for students last year, where we took on Zern Math, and we also have Reading Plus, which we've done at the middle school for many years, and that data proves that that is a good program for the majority of our students. That Zern Math is grade level tutoring, and with our scores raising as they did last year, that has to be one of the factors that also contributed because they're getting more practice, skill, and drill with what they're currently learning in math. It's a different model approach than necessarily intervention where you have gap group areas. This focuses more on what they're learning, and then it will scaffold that information to help support kids. Science. So there is a tool, I heard you speaking earlier to the primary school and what tools are available. There is a tool that was created for administrators, and it's intended to be used in conjunction with your teachers in identifying where there are focus areas within your science pacing and curriculum and what you're doing to help support and find where we need to strengthen areas. So that is one thing that we're doing great work with this year. We've already had our first department meeting looking at the first pieces of that. Increase the opportunities for hands-on learning and experiments. And then we are going to add in some professional development around, it is a strategy called claim evidence reasoning in the science classroom. And it really digs deep into the understanding and higher cognitive levels of what they're learning. So they have to explain that learning in a different way. Okay, next slide. Goal 4 is 4 and 5 are similar to the primary school. They do link to the district plan connection. So it is state expectation that all students are going to, all teachers are going to be trained in behind the science of reading. And so there are monthly modules that our teachers are going to learn. And that model, we're hoping to hire substitutes to be able to make that possible so that teachers can get that learning done during the school day. And so are supposed to be released this month. September is supposed to be the month the state says that they're available to us. And depending on what they're teaching, if they're a science teacher or a history teacher, it's going to teach them strategies to help support instruction within their classroom. Reading. Our reading specialist who we've added, she will attend a fall professional development as well as a Canvas course that's designed for her specialty area. I kind of put in here just because of professional learning support, we do have PD that will be coming for our positivity project as we implement the new character education policy. And I think that shouldn't be taken lightly because that folds into our students' work ethic. I think it folds into their desire to perform well. So that is a huge piece, and I'm glad that we now have a standing policy that helps to support that a little more. School climate support, and that is revolving around our chronic absenteeism. So we do hope to decrease to 5% like the district has a main goal for. There's one extra plan in place for the middle school. So we continue to hold during our WIN time every other Friday. The students have individual one-on-one conferences with their WIN time teacher based upon the character matrix and how they're doing. We're easily adding in this piece where students will begin to track their own attendance on those forums and reflect. There's a portion where they reflect upon how their character has been, their responsibility. There are many things on that. One of them is going to be their attendance. So we're hoping that that will also bring to light the importance of being in school, though we've made huge strides there as well. So we want to continue to just strengthen that further. And I think that is my last goal that I'm going to share with you this evening. What questions do you all have?
I have some. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. On your first slide, you back to the first slide. Can you talk a little bit about the breakdown by grades? This is a roll-up, but kind of the breakdown of grades. And some things I saw seem to indicate there's some big differences in grades. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Last year's sixth grade group did not perform as well as the seventh and eighth grade classes did, both in English and math. So that is something that we've had discussions around and kind of trying to problem solve. Why is that? So that we can get to the meat and support them as they're moving into seventh grade and make sure that they're going to get what they need. Seventh and eighth were pretty commensurate with each other, score-wise, where they performed. So we did have that grade level discrepancy. I think there are a lot of different things that can go into that based upon experiences that they've had previously, along with what the instruction looks like that current year. But I know that our teachers are putting a lot of effort into helping these kids to grow. I think ensuring that we're adhering to the curriculum and ensuring that we're sticking to what pacing guides are telling us to do is an important piece, and everyone's on board. They get that. So.
Anybody else have any questions? I have a question. Are you done? Yeah. Okay. Thank you for being here tonight. But I have a question about the Tier 2 and Tier 3 kids in both Goal 1 and Goal 2 having access to project-based learning. Andrea, you and I have had this conversation before, and you know that project-based learning is
Yes.
my jam.
Yes.
4-H is the ultimate project-based learning
Yeah.
for kids. And so I think kids learn very well doing lots of projects. And so I am just wondering what the access is for project-based learning and those mad minds that
Yes.
that really cool stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
And making sure that Tier 2 kids and Tier 3 kids have access to those activities as well. How
Yes.
does that happen in practice?
Yeah, so what I can say is it is not those Tier 2 and Tier 3 students who are getting that currently. It is students who do not require the grade level tutoring. The grade level tutoring is required based upon their specific scores that were put out when the playbook was published last year. And we have played with that a little bit this year, that if students show from, let's say, their SOL to another measure that we have, one of the growth assessments, or if it is their HMH reading assessment that's stating that they're reading on grade level, and we have another measure to be able to say that the student is performing well and are not in need of that grade level tutoring, then we wavered a little bit if we had another data piece to go off of to say that they would not necessarily need those hours that are required by the state. But there is that state mandate that is there to provide that. With the middle school schedule and getting their core classes along with the electives in that are required, we did shave 45 minutes, which it does cut into your core time. We have about 75-minute blocks for the other classes throughout the day. That 45 minutes did shave some more time off. High school looks like a 90-minute block for four classes a day. So there's a little discrepancy there with timing for the core classes. So right now it is students at the Tier 1 level who are having access to that.
I wonder
Yeah.
how those kids would thrive, and how scores may be better if they had access to project-based learning as well.
Yeah. And that.
I'm just curious.
And that's good practice. You're bringing up a good point. That is good practice within Tier 1 core instruction as well to engage in PBL projects. And that is a way that all students can engage in it. So thank you. That is something to take back and to think a little bit more about
I wonder if those
within
scores
our.
would go up.
Good thing to think about. Thank you.
Yeah. If I'm not really good at this certain thing, right? And I got to sit and have skill and drill more and more and more and more of this thing that I don't like, how can we PBL that, right? And find a way to make the academics better
Yep.
rather
point.
than killing and drilling,
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, just my thought.
I would like a copy of each school's SOLs from last year, blank copy.
Okay.
And I'd also like to have a copy of the next SOLs when they're ready. Because I want, from your opinion, yours, Dr. Corner, Mr. Corner, Mrs. Taylor, and also Mrs. Reese, if she's listening online or anything, your opinion, what percentage of the SOL tests prepare a student for real life? Honest opinion. You know what mine is already. I want to know what y'all think. Don't worry about, there are no repercussions to this. This is just honest with the public. Hopefully the government's listening too.
Do you want that answer now?
Yes, ma'am.
I was hoping I would have a little time to think on this. I will say,
If you feel uncomfortable answering that right now, please,
No,
it's quite
I
all
mean,
right to answer.
I will say
later.
this, right? You always have kids who question, why do I have to know this? Why do I have to learn this? Why do I have to do this? And so oftentimes we talk to our teachers about how do we make this relevant to where it is applicable to their real life. You will find that in a lot of math classrooms, I can speak to several of our teachers that come up with projects that are real world, that are, I have a closet space and I need to gut this and I need to redesign it. The floor is disgusting, the walls are nasty. How much paint do I need to cover this area? How much is it going to cost me? What type of flooring is the most cost effective? How many years will it last? They come up with things to make it so that it is real world and it makes sense to them. as we dive deeper into careers for kids, and that is a new thing, right? Like, well, it's not new, but when we're looking at college readiness, when we're looking at the workforce, when we're talking about where students are going to go in secondary, after secondary education, further up and into post-secondary, we're constantly talking about the 16 career clusters and where this information that you're learning folds into these types of jobs. And so there's more awareness to that now, I think, than there has been, certainly in the CTE courses and things. And so teachers try hard to make it relevant so that it's not, I will never use this again in my life, and this is the most boring thing ever. Are there probably some SOLs in there that they may not use? Probably. But it depends what type of career they're going to go into as well, So I don't know
Well-
if that answers your question. I mean, that's a loaded question for sure.
Yeah, and I like those kind of questions because it really does open up the floor for discussion, like serious discussion. I do believe that there is absolutely a need for college, okay? We need teachers, doctors, lawyers, okay? There are college courses that you're going to have to go through because you're not going to get that in a high school. There's just too much learning, focused learning in one area that we just don't have the funds or the people for. But like right now, it seems like the college world is really producing a bunch of students that can't, or either don't want to, or can't pay back the money in a degree that they got. That's where are they going to get a job for it? So then, if that becomes less desirable than real life or, blue collar jobs, mechanics, HVAC, electric, plumbing, they become more desirable because they get out of school and they can go right to work, or right into an apprenticeship to learn that type of job. So I'm just thinking how much of time that we spend educating to pass an SOL that could be spent toward actually educating them something that they would know and use. But this, again, the state requires the SOL.
Correct.
And it's actually, I hope this is on record where, I hope it goes all over the thing. We're required to teach SOLs, and we're educating to pass SOLs that is not helping students. It's not helping students. It's basically giving the Department of Education a screenshot of, okay, this school is at this level, this school's at, they don't even know each individual child. And it hurts my heart because a lot of kids are left behind because they're learning something that they're not going to use. They're learning something that it's not even, okay, what was the game? It was really popular. I don't know if it was the 80s or not. Trivial Pursuit. Trivial Pursuit. It was one of the most popular games out. Useless information. I mean, it's a popular game. So if anybody can hear this, we need to push the SOLs out and educate children to the stuff that's actually going to build them up and prepare them for life. Mr. Corner, I didn't hear you answer. Mrs. Taylor, I'd love to hear your opinions as well.
Andrea said, help, please.
Mrs. Mitchell, thank you very much. I do appreciate all you do and your heart. Thank you so much.
Ms. Wilson, you may.
Mrs. Wilson,
That's okay.
sorry. Where'd Andrew
Ms.
Mitchell
Wilson,
come
Ms.
from?
Mitchell, she's amazing too. It's okay.
Sorry.
No worries, that's okay. Thank you so much. Do you all have any more questions? No?
No, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Sheeds, I think you asked for a copy of the SOLs. We haven't seen those. They're secure material, so we're not allowed to see the test. If you're talking about the test,
Now,
we
isn't
can't
that
see the
interesting?
test. I thought you might.
you
like
can
that.
see
We're required
No, you
for
can't see
children to
last
take a
year's either.
test to pass a test that our school has to provide and teach for, and we don't even know we can't even see the test to know what it is.
Correct.
That is
Well,
ludicrous.
So one of the interesting thing about most of the SOLs is how they grow with the kids. I'm not sure if you know this, they're computer adaptive tests. So like if you get this question right, you might get a harder question, but if you get this question wrong, you might get an easier question. And then I know, I get scored sheets sent home when a kid takes them and things like that of these are the questions, the types of questions that they got wrong, and these are the types of questions that they got right. So they do, I look at that as trying to take some of that stress off the kids when they do take their tests, because they're not going to be bombarded with super hard questions on calculus when they're not doing well at basic geometry and things like that.
Well, that starts another argument, because when you think about if it's an adaptive test, everyone is at their own level. So why are we testing toward an SOL level?
Well, it's.
Everyone's at a different level, because
Yeah.
if they answer a question wrong, they get a question that's not as hard. So
Yeah, and it's really looking at growth measures and things like that too. I'm not a big fan of the SOL, so don't misunderstand that. I think our schools have done, the schools that I've been in the last several years since I worked here and even just coming in with my kids, I think our teachers do a pretty darn good job of kind of diversifying their educations and things like that, so that it's not just, this is what's on this test. So as much as some people can think. But I will say, I liked it as a parent. I like kind of knowing what my kid is good at and what they're not so good at. As a school counselor, it was really good to see those trends in the classroom, just to be able to say, oh, well, maybe this is an area that we didn't touch on as much. So if all the kids got this type of question wrong, and I'm just going to go with basic arithmetic because that's not going to be on any SOL. So if they all got 2 + 2 is wrong, then we know that we're not teaching that very well. And so you can get a very detailed report of what each student is doing right and wrong. And I know that because I've been in these meetings with some of our administrators, they do a great job of compiling all this information, using it to guide our teachers, using it to help our students. And unless something's changed in the last several years since I've left the schools, the SOLs are not something that's really oh, you must pass this test, you must pass this test. It's not really mentioned a lot. The kids will ask about it, but a lot of the times, like Ms. Wilson said, as an educator and as the teachers, we just talk about it. Sometimes it's just something you've got to do. And then now they've increased all their growth methods. So in theory, it looks like we're doing more testing, but it's really looking at okay, this is where you are at the beginning of the year. All we want is for you as a student, as an individual, to grow by the end of the year. And that is a big piece of what that data can show us right now.
well, I don't think the SOLs, we can get that data from doing tests in the classroom.
You can, but the thing about
Not
it
state
is that, so
required.
we've taken away this test that a teacher has to do, and the state's provided it. And it's something that we have to do, but it is something that they are looking at these concerns that we have and looking at those individual aspects of it as well. So it's not, there's nothing we can do about it as far as, I'd love to change it. I'd love to have more project-based things, but that's something that they've been able to do, I think, Ms. Taylor, on the high school level, that they have a lot of more project-based SOLs that the students can complete, especially history is a big one. Yeah, science is huge now too. So where the kids can they take papers and they turn in these things throughout the year so that they don't just have to take this test at the end. So they're showing a deeper understanding and commitment to their learning. And so it's really it's a neat thing to watch it change. And so and I'm hoping that the project-based learning will, and project-based assessments ultimately is what this is too, that's going to take over a little bit more. Some things are going to be a lot harder. I know, I remember when my son was in algebra, his big project was planning a vacation. They had to plan a vacation, tell you where they were going, tell you how much money it was cost, how much the hotel rooms were going to cost, what visas you needed in order to get to where you were going, because they were all going to fabulous places. And so that project-based learning and that real-life application is there.
But that's not on the SOLs. I'm
It's
talking
not-
about SOLs.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
But it's still, it's still a standard. So the SOLs are the standards that we have to teach. So we're assessing that those standards were not just taught but understood by taking a test. Throughout life, there's always going to be tests.
Oh, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah. Some of them we're not going to do great at, and some
But
of them we'll do great
we
at.
teach to pass the SOLs. We focus on the information to make sure we pass the SOLs, and not all the a good bit, majority of the information is not
Yeah.
valuable information.
And I don't necessarily disagree with that. I don't remember using any calculus in my everyday life, and I had to take that class in high school. It was not my favorite, but it's also one of those things too that like, I mean, I'm just trying to say, like, in the classrooms that I've been in and, and my experience with my kids being here is that they're not being taught just to take a test. Like, my kids, like, they've done watershed projects in science where they built things out of, to really look at habitat and things like that. Like I said, there was the other program in math that they did. And they're not just taught to take a test.
I would argue against that. I know that we add extra stuff in, which is good. Anything hands-on, project-based is great. But at the end of the day, are teachers not themselves, are they not graded on whether students pass or fail or make it through the SOLs? So it only makes sense that we would do whatever we can to make sure that they pass the SOLs, but not gain valuable knowledge.
Yeah, and I would argue that if our administration team is what I know it to be, like, I mean, yeah, those numbers on that piece of paper are going to be a little bit important, but they're also creating a climate where the kids are learning. And if we can create the climate where the kids are learning, which I know it to be from personal experience, then the kids end up learning and they end up passing. Like, it's not like, oh, this standard is this and we must drill it into your head today. Like, and I say this also knowing that as a school counselor, I asked them teachers to do some really interesting things in their classrooms, and they were always willing to do it because it helped the kids learn. It helped the kids grow. And honestly, like, I'm thinking of a back-to-school activity that we had many, many years ago where Ms. Wilson asked us she put a piece of paper with every student's name around the gym and asked us all to write something about these students. And it was at the beginning of the school year, and nobody really knew half of the sixth graders. And our teachers know our kids. They know what they're good at. They know what they do. And like that concept, and that's what the education piece should be about, right? Like, our teachers knowing our kids and knowing what they're capable of, but also pushing them to achieve their academic excellence, regardless of whether that excellence is on a standard that they have to learn versus, something that we, also get to teach them about being a good human and being, taking personal accountability for their absenteeism. Like, and I can say for the record, I took my child out of school for a doctor's appointment this morning. He demanded a note from his doctor to make sure that his absence from school was covered because he did not want to not have I took him out early, but like didn't want to have an unexcused like early dismissal. And that did not come from me. Like, and so it's, I mean, I could just say, like I said, personally speaking, I know where it looks like a lot of us concentrate on the numbers. The numbers are easier to look at, but I know that when it comes to the day-to-day, they're concentrating on those students.
Mr. Corner, I'm sorry. Would you mind answering?
Thought I gotten out of it.
I had told him to sit down.
I would say that you're probably talking about two different things, frankly, when you're talking about SOLs. I think you have the standards that the state wants kids to know what they want teachers to teach in the classroom, and then you have the SOL test, which is it's a different animal, right? I think we're talking about two different things. So when you ask how much of the SOLs do you think are really important, I think particularly at the primary, I think all of it. I think all of it is very important. Now, do I want my future to be judged on a certain percentage of students scoring well on a standardized test when we know all students are inherently different and they learn differently, I think that's a different question. But I do think that the SOLs themselves, the curriculum itself, I think is well thought out and very important.
That makes sense.
I agree.
Mrs. Taylor, if you're willing to answer, I'm happy to hear from you too.
Well, I kind of agree with a little bit of both. I do think some of the SOLs are more practical in a sense for some of our students, and I can just share a little bit of what we would do at Orange sometimes with our students with disability or our ESOL kids. We would, we'd have them set for the biology because they have to, but we would pull them for the earth science because it's more hands-on, it's more applicable to their lives. You talk about the weather every day, you may talk about astronomy every day, so in that essence, I think it is more practical for students and they will use it, and if they are using it, they will learn it because they see value in it. Looking at across the curriculum and I'm just saying mainly science because that is my love and that is my passion and my major. So we would kind of look at the SOLs, look at the blueprints, but in essence, it all came down to who our students are and what was best for them and where we thought they could learn and use that knowledge with them for the rest of their time. It's kind of how I feel.
Thank you.
And I think, I would think about it, I mean, there is, Mr. Sheeds, I mean, there is utility, I think, in like the reading comprehension piece. I mean, it's essential for no matter what what business they're going into, what trade they're going into, what college, whatever, for them to read and comprehend. And so I think there is utility in having a standardized thing to look at and say, are our children doing this? And so I think that's the good of the idea of a standardized test. And then I don't know what the SOL is exactly, but there is. I'd be cautious against downplaying altogether because it does tell us some things. It tells us where we are in terms of state average. And you go onto Zillow, and somebody's looking for a house. It says, what our schools are, 1 through 10. And if our schools are a 1 or 2, that has impact in the community. For do I want to move here? And so it's a complicated thing, and in some ways they're important. Make sure our children read well and assess if there's a grade level issue or a teacher issue or whatever. So I don't know, it's just hard, it's complicated, I think, I don't know.
If we can't get copies of the test, how do we sign up to take it?
You have to enroll in school.
I bet we can get copies.
They release certain copies, but they're older. Dr. Jones, I'll have to defer to you all. Do they even release them when they're,
They used to really,
and it's not the
been
whole test usually either, it's like sample questions. So, maybe old whole tests,
Yeah,
but
I
not
know you
recent.
can you can look them up and because I know we were able to get the full test on some of the high school, the end of subject
They're
ones.
older.
So once they switch to the CAT tests, they haven't been releasing
No,
them.
it's older
2015
versions. Is it-
is
okay, I was gonna
what's
say
on
it's
the
older.
Virginia Department of Education website, at least for reading.
And we're not on those standards anymore, just like they've been revised.
Math is 2014. And then, end of courses is all over the place.
And it would be really nice if they would, if we did work and see if they could release some. I know somebody out of Richmond, I'll ask them. Just for last year's, not future ones.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okey doke. Mr. Eanes, you get the hot seat now.
It's
We're-
character ed.
Oh,
first.
character ed, sorry, oops, I skipped character ed, I'm sorry. Jeanette,
She's happy as sad.
I hit the button too
I
fast.
was super happy that he had to wait for me to go. right.
Sorry.
Oh, don't apologize. Don't apologize. I saw him pop up and he looked so excited for a minute. Yeah. So the character education programs are a little bit different for each school, but thankfully each school agreed to use the curriculum provided by Positivity Project. So what I'll do, because this is not, this information is familiar to everyone, but I wanted to kind of show you where Positivity Project fits into each school's program. So we had a meeting on August 26th just to do an overview with a couple of gentlemen from Positivity Project. And then each school has met, and we still have one school to meet to look at individual school implementation because it's a little different for each building. So that's where we are. Positivity Project is very new to us, so we will go through the slides pretty quickly, and I'll just show you where and how we intend to use those in each building. Oh, and just to give you a little background on Positivity Project, it is based on character traits or character strengths. There are 24 character strengths, and each of those 24 come from 6 virtues: wisdom and knowledge, humanity, justice, courage, temperance, and transcendence. So anyway, that's where we're starting. So Madison Primary School, nothing has changed for Tier 1, which is their general instruction in the area. They teach the school-wide expectations: be responsible, be safe, be respectful. We've talked about the bucket filler program for years now. That's been a huge success and continues to be a success, so I can't imagine that going away anytime soon. If we skip to the next couple of slides, Mr. Coiner has shared the standards that are associated with primary school and their instruction. This slide here shows you what instruction looks like for the primary school, 30 minutes per week in all classrooms during morning meeting time. This is happening as we are looking to implement the Positivity Project. So right now, 2 weeks allotted for each character trait. The school counselor creates Google Slides. There is an instructional process: define it, talk about it, watch it, read about it. And then there are books and videos from various sources. But again, we will implement the Positivity Project in places. Not everything is going to look exactly the same, but much of it will continue. There are activities that embrace character and citizenship at the primary school. They have the daily character message, ongoing collaboration with American Legion, field trips, Community Helper Day, DARE for second grade. And if we'll skip to the next slide, we know that not all kids respond to general instruction, so there is a need for advanced tiers. So if there are kids who are not responding to the general curriculum, we have Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions in place. So that would require a meeting. We look at academic and behavior needs. We look at that as it is pitted against the school-wide expectations, and then there's always progress monitoring. The next slide is an example of check-in, check-outs, just where kids are meeting with an adult, looking at goals, and here is an example of a student's individual student count report. So there is data collection around this process. Tier 2 resources include zones, social explorers curriculum, and there's always teacher consultation with behavior specialist or instructional coach if necessary. Tier 3 intervention is a little bit more intensive, obviously. Sometimes there's a need for behavior assessment. There are plans developed. There are TDT offerings for certain kids who meet the requirements, and then we have direct oversight by the behavior specialist. And then there are obviously character education awareness initiatives. Have you filled a bucket today? School-wide Read Aloud Day. October is recognized as National Bullying Prevention Month. There's Unity Day in October. We often, as a district, wear orange. And then there's Character Counts Week, which is also recognized in October. The food drive, random acts of kindness. You'll see these themes throughout the slides because each school does something similar based on the level. We jump to Waverly Yao. They still are doing the STAR program: show determination, take responsibility, act safe, and respect everyone. And if you look at the next slide, it's a little bit busy, but it just explains their weekly, monthly, quarterly, and end-of-year rewards, goals and rewards, and then the classroom goals and rewards. Again, we have the standards associated with character education at Waverly. And then Ms. Reese and Ms. Spears have done a great job of breaking down each topic in character word for the month. So if you flip through, you'll see that the first month was just getting kids familiar with STAR, for those who weren't. September, the focus is self-control. And you can read for yourselves, October, determination, November, empathy, December, cooperation, January, accountability, February, respect, March, trustworthiness, April, patience, May, gratitude. And then there are a couple of curriculum efforts, non-curriculum efforts to support civic instruction, the DARE program, which is not new, and the Waverly fifth grade Dreamers program, which was delivered by Rachel Dove and last year, Delisa Turner. Additional activities, as you can read, Madison County Courthouse and Historical Landmarks Tour, the Constitution Day Art Contest, Veterans Day, the 4-H Extension Office fourth grade presentations, Kids Marketplace, and the Waverly Heroes Breakfast. There's regular communication with school counselors, TDT workers, instructional coach, and administration. There are monthly meetings designed to discuss students' progress, and then checking in on friends via the Google Form referral process. Again, National Bullying Prevention Month, October, Community Kindness Week in December, Black History Month in February, and then the Star Spirit Week in May. All right, and we jump to Wetzel and their school-wide expectations. Show your blue, be respectful, learn every day, understand responsibilities, encourage everyone. And here, lessons are taught during the first week of school, during first block, to introduce our school-wide expectations. And these expectations are shown on the next slide in the matrix for all areas of the school. The SOL curriculum, Ms. Wilson shared on the next slide, that which addresses character, education, and citizenship at Wetzel. On the next slide, okay, I want to keep on going. So I have to give a shout out to Emma Shiflett, who won the local post district and department level American Legion essay contest for the 23-24 school year. That's one of the activities that Wetzel does to support curriculum in the area of character development. There's the Daughters of the American Revolution, Daughters of the American Revolution Award, and school-wide expectations of Show Your Blue. Additionally, there are the 101 conferences that allow each student during their win time, their what I need time, to meet with their sponsor. And a couple of slides over, you'll see Ms. Wilson did address or discuss her matrix that kiddos look at, and I believe that's where she will share additional information on the attendance, where kiddos will be able to discuss or look at their attendance. Is that the right? It's not up there, but it's on it's in your packet. And that's biweekly. All right, so as far as the Positivity Project at the middle school, students will engage with the Positivity Project curriculum during first block lessons, will be delivered through Wetzel's morning video announcements, Wake Up Wetzel. There is a school-home connection. Families will be provided with one quote, one video, and 3 questions to help them and their children discuss the Positivity Project character strength of the week. We roll over to the high school, where the school-wide expectations are integrity, respect, responsibility, kindness, and American citizenship. Here we have there's a slide that shares the courses in Econ and Personal Finance, Virginia and U.S. History, and Virginia and U.S. Government for that curriculum connection. And then there are several activities, or school-based citizenship activities listed, Election Day page program, So What, Now You're 18, assembly, simulated senior class elections, Thank a Veteran, community service experience, the blood drive, Madison Day involvement. Government Day, where seniors shadow a local government official. The Student Council Association and class officer cabinets. The Student Principals Cabinet, promotion of the Civic Seal for a diploma, military branch presence at MCHS. So there are lots of things, lots of activities happening at the high school to promote character development. And then there is a matrix that shares the different traits that these Positivity Project lessons will occur during the homeroom time, and then a couple of the school-wide activities associated with each quarter. And the last slide for MCHS, literacy teachers will focus on the following character traits in their classrooms. 1 character trait per 9 weeks. Again, integrity, responsibility, respect, and kindness, and American citizenship will be incorporated into the history curriculum. You guys have it, all of the slides, yeah. And I know it's not all, it's most of it you've heard before, but just trying to see the little pockets of where we're starting to look to insert Positivity Project. And again, it's very new, and I know that the resources we've explored, I know when we first started looking at different programs, we were able to demo a few of the resources, but not able to see the program in its entirety. So hopefully, we'll be able to give you more information once we've been using it for a while.
Thank you for your work, for everybody's work in kind of integrating the new character education policy. Thank you. That's a lot of work for the schools, and Jeanette, thank you very much for good work in it.
We're speeding through it.
Yeah. Do you think there's a need, or are they will the Positivity Project come down and do an in-person training? Is that something that looking at or willing?
During the implementation meeting, schools were offered different opportunities for in-person versus virtual, and I'm not sure exactly who chose to do what,
Okay.
but that was.
That's a possibility.
That was a possibility.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Drew, sorry. It's your turn now.
So we have been working on updating our annual crisis manual, crisis plan, which we have completed. We do that through collaboration with first responders in the county, along with school personnel, particularly the sheriff's office. All those parties have, they have a copy of this plan, and we're all in agreement. We also have trained staff on our ALICE training with new staff and so forth, and our students all schools have completed their first lockdown drill. So not a whole lot changed with the plan. We're going to continue to work with some of the safety initiatives that we had talked about earlier in closed session, and we hope to complete those by the end of the school year.
Awesome. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Drew.
Thank you for your work on it.
Okey doke.
Next is the advisory committees to the board. This is information you can vote on next time, but it's who has volunteered to serve on these committees. Some are standing members, and some are probably voluntold to be on them, so. It's a good group of people.
If you see your name, note that you're on those.
Is there a board member on each one of these?
Yes.
Looks like it.
Family Life, you have
I've
Mr. Marks
forgotten.
and Ms. Wood. SPED, you have Ms. Collier.
Me and Charlie.
Mr. Sheets. Gifted is Ms. Wood and Mr. Wingate, and then CTE is Mr. Sheets. You might be, is he the only one on CTE?
I think I might be his.
Oh, and Mr. Wingate is the alternate.
Oh, that's right, okay. Okay. Okey doke. That's informational for us. The next, my computer caught up. Then,
The next is the policy updates. The VSBA put out a few updates to policies that you just had recently seen. So there, it's not major changes for BDD and BDDL. It's mainly mentioning the fact that this policy has to be adopted at least once annually. So in adopting that, you will cover that. The second part is just a footnote about, oh, my computer's gonna die. Okay, Lori.
do you need these adopted tonight, or is next month okay?
Not necessarily. The changes are so minor. GC professional staff, they're just fixing a law code. And then JEC school admission, they deleted information and just inserted another law code, which we're going to follow no matter what, because it's the law. And then I think the last one, the student records, they take out the charging for copies, because that's covered in our policy that deals with FOIA. So those are the changes for the policies this month.
Okey-doke. The next item is the superintendent designee. This is to approve Dr. Jones, the assistant superintendent, to be named the designee over all of those things listed, in case the division superintendent's not available. We should have a backup plan. Anybody have any questions? All right, I'll open the floor for that motion.
Motion to approve Dr. Jones, that's the designee for all those things.
Have a motion, we need a second.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? All right, motion carries. The next agenda item is reports from all of us and the superintendent. Mr. Sheeds, do you have anything?
The meeting that we had about.
Turn your mic on.
Oh, sorry. That meeting that we had about maintenance with, is that something to bring up now?
You can,
or-
yes,
Okay,
yeah.
so we've been discussing a little bit, so in case anyone's not aware, Dr. Timmons in the maintenance department, pretty much at the school, is a home run hitter. He's doing a fantastic job. I really appreciate it. He's paid with taxpayer funds. The county could use some managerial support and maintenance with their buildings and stuff. So we're trying to team up with the county a little bit to see if he can help support that area. And in turn, we'll continue getting support from the guys in the maintenance at county department as we need more help. And this, because we're a small town and all the schools are pretty much here and all the town stuff is it's like right here close, it may open up some other avenues of merging some other departments that we can pull some help from them, and then we can give them some help from us, and just team up a little bit and try to be more efficient with what's going on. So other than that, that's really the biggest thing that I had, aside from the roof at the field house down there and crazy prices.
You had a meeting about that.
Yes. So it's still in the talks. We're seeing how it works. I think we're going to try it, just kind of see what he can do. I don't want to put so much on Dr. Timmons that he doesn't like his job and wants to go somewhere else. So we do want to try to keep him here. So ultimately, it was trying to get the best bang for the buck for taxpayers through Dr. Timmons. So he's doing a great job. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Wingate?
And thanks to Mr. Sheets for being such a big player on the CIP and stuff. It's a huge resource and good for us that we win. So thank you for your work on it. My only thing, a suggestion, I was thinking about the technology thing and the cell phone work group. When is that starting?
We are starting that this Thursday.
Okay.
So it's going to be really exciting. And I know that, thank you again. I know I wrote you an email, but I'm a week behind
No
in
worries.
emails. But I'm excited about this book. It'll be interesting.
I just recommended a book called Anxious Generation about the impact of
I can't remember what it
screens
was
and
called.
cell phones and stuff. I think, in my opinion, it's a good book. I guess I was just suggestion was think about, wondering if that same work group might be a venue for thinking about making it bigger than cell phones. I mean, just the idea of kindergartners on screens just seems to me to be counterproductive. I don't mean just kindergartners, but I mean first and second and third and fourth grade. I'm wondering if guidance from the board would be helpful at some point about limiting screen time. I mean, I think we need to look at it, I'm sure, and get Mr. Coiner's and his team's input, thoughtful input, but not having that would also reduce technology requirements. I mean, if we're not using it that much, why are we spending time fixing passwords, et cetera, for little children, kindergartners who may not need it? So I think it's something to think about. I'm sure it's an in-depth question, I think, but I wonder if there's room to operate in a way that is less taxing on the technology department and maybe not so good for children to be on screens when they're that. I have a 6-year-old, and when he watches a couple of movies in a row, it has an impact on him, and the screen time isn't great for him. So I just think it's something to be thoughtful about, and maybe we incorporate that in your work group.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I definitely think so. I will say, like, one of the cool things about it, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, like, until they get to high school, they don't bring their computers home. Well, I don't know what the elementary school does anymore. It's been a long time since I've had an elementary school student. But like the middle school students don't bring their computers home, which is great for somebody like me who, like, I control everything that my children do once it comes to a screen and an internet and things like that. Like, and so it's kind of nice that they don't have that brought home. So if they are on it during the school day, it's not going home with them every night as well. So like at least up to 13, like that's kind of a great option. I highly doubt Mr. Coiner sends his computers home with the little people. Like, so,
They would never come back.
Yeah, or they'd come
lost
back
on
in
the bus.
pieces, yeah. So from that aspect of it, like, I mean, it's not completely limiting it during the day, but at least it's not like ongoing as well. But definitely something I'm sure we can talk about.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. I attended a fantastic opportunity for Madison County today, including our kids. We celebrated the partnership with Madison County government, Firefly, and REC to bring affordable internet to Madison County and all of its residents. So they had a ribbon cutting this afternoon at Early Mountain Vineyard, which is a beautiful venue. And yeah, you guys got a little goodie bags, swag bags from that. We took some stuff, and I brought you some stuff, or Miss Graham brought you some stuff. And so I look forward to seeing how that's going to move forward and what that can do for the school system and if anything, and I'm sure it will. The kids, especially in their homes, will have access to affordable internet, I hope. So that was cool. Abigail Spanberger was there, so that was awesome as well. So we got to meet her and hear about all the things that she's trying to do, which is a lot of affordable internet. So that's all I have. Mr. Martz?
Had a wonderful opportunity to join the board members at a ribbon-cutting ceremony with Governor Youngkin to help develop young teachers all through our area, and to see it so heavily attended and so many wonderful people there. And it's very encouraging for the future of education, so where we can expedite the process with kids that have a serious interest and then find the right ones that want to come back to our own hometowns to teach and develop and give back to their communities is tremendous. And it was, to hear how many others are about to join that venture is amazing. And what's happening in the state of Virginia right now could be a big jump for a lot of other places. And I'm excited to see where it's going to go. And it was a great time to be there. Did I say yours?
Greg always takes my things. So I just want to add, there's a lot of cool things going on. Like, I know that the middle school band is having a car wash on Friday after school. And I know that's the first senior event day, too. It makes me a little bit sad. I've got tearing eyes on, yeah, I'm not ready to have a senior. But, so yeah, Friday is the car wash after school. I think that's from like 3:30 to 5:30. And then like, seniors are painting their parking lot spots right after that. And having like an event that my antisocial son said that he would go to. So maybe that's a Jade thing, so way to go. But so like a lot of fun activities for a non-football Friday. And we had our first football game. I didn't go to it because my children refused to, but like, yay fireworks, like that's all I got.
And the Minions?
Yeah,
I heard all about the whole Minion thing.
Lots of school spirit.
yeah. So lots of cool things happening in Madison, so like.
All right. Well, first of all, to Mr. Wingate, I think first, as far as like limiting screen time, if you would give the admin team an opportunity to do an audit, so we can just kind of do like a snapshot day in the life and bring back and report to the board, like what it is they're doing on the screens, like what's happening with technology. I think that would be very helpful moving forward. With the book, Anxious Generation, one of the first fun activities for the cell phone committee is they're going to host next week in collaboration with something coming down from First Lady Suzanne Yunkin and the author of the book. They're going to host a fireside chat, and we have signed up to be one of the locations where you can view that. They're live streaming it, so we're going to live stream it into the auditorium. And then that's from 7 to 8. And then from 8 to 9 will be an opportunity for our cell phone committee to talk to any community members or parents that are here and get their feedback with our cell phone policy and their thoughts. So that's next Thursday, September 19th, from 7 to 9 p.m. right here in the auditorium. It'll be a good event. And then the Diversity, Opportunity, and Inclusion Task Force will have their first meeting on Wednesday, October 23rd. For this month, we've invited them to come to this event next week for the cell phones, because it's really connected, the things that they talk about in that committee as well. And then otherwise, let Ms. Patterson know if you are going to attend the VSBA conference in November, so she can get all those details finalized. Thanks, Phil. That's okay. I got you. And that's all.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
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 Ms. Taylor, I have your form.